Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Today is explanation of upcoming episode Throne of Seal based on novel. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. So let's start. After reaching the 6th step of cultivation, Long Houchen had developed his spiritual cavities, and this was followed by his awakening as a god's chosen one, Yating's evolution, and the fusion of spiritual stoves. All of this didn't only increase his strength as a whole, but also his assimilating ability of the light essence. As a god's chosen one, Long Houchen could say without reservation that he became the person with the highest affinity to the light element in the whole world. During the past 4 months, his internal spiritual energy had astonishingly increased by more than 1,000 units, now reaching a total of 8,500 units, getting closer and closer to the 7th step. Other than him, the progression speed of his comrade's internal spiritual energy wasn't bad either. But the gap separating him from the rest was becoming larger and larger. Even Kia was the same, after all, she had yet to have her awakening as a god's chosen one. After passing through the first trial, Long Houchen didn't continue to advance, but withdrew to the first floor, where he told the others about his encounters in detail. With everyone gaining their spiritual wings by breaking through to the 6th step, training their aerial combat ability also became a pressing matter. Having such a rare training platform, they would naturally not let this opportunity slip. With every bit of strength they gained, their survivability during missions would also increase. After pondering carefully, Long Houchen came to a decision. While advancing to the tests on the 2nd floor, everyone aside from Chen Yinga would have to pass every test with their own power, and without the use of the abilities from any spiritual stove or mount. As for Chen Yinga, the target of her training would be of course to toughen her contracted beast McDull. It was a large hall filled with darkness, covering at least a square kilometer. At an altitude of over 10 meters, it was surrounded with walls on all 8 sides. Inside the hall were dark light rays, and on each of the room's 8 sides a purple flame was pulsing, providing this mysterious hall with some lighting and an extremely rich aura of darkness. Right in the center of this dark hall stood a man. With black hair spreading on his back, his eyes shone with a blood-red colored brilliance. Advancing, launching a punch. Terrible fluctuations of darkness spiritual energy instantly surged out from him, and with every punch of that person, terrible exploding sounds would ripple in the air. This hall was made of some unknown material, allowing him to wreak such havoc, yet staying unmoved and unaffected. With every explosion of the spiritual energy he unleashed came a flash of purple light, barely enlightening his appearance. A handsome face with a grave and stern expression, along with a bare upper body which could be seen. With each attack of his whole body would be covered with a layer of dark purple scales. And the bloodlust in his eyes was frighteningly intense. Right when his grandeur seemed to reach its supreme peak, a figure soundlessly appeared behind him. This figure was tall and slender, the body shrouded in a black gown, and long black hair rested on both of its shoulders. Its appearance was shaded and unclear. Seemingly sensing the sudden menace on his back, the bare-chested man suddenly turned around, launching his fist at the figure that suddenly appeared in the dark. This punch was concentrated with his powerful strength at peak state, reaching a terrifying level of burst power. The whole dark hall was lit up because of this punch, and all the spiritual energy he used in his previous attacks seemed to have gathered at once in this area, compressing the space with distortions that seemed almost able to destroy this whole hall. However, the figure that appeared so suddenly didn't move in response to such a terrible punch. The only reaction from the other side was to lift one white finger and point it at that tyrannical fist. Time seemed to freeze right then, without any sound. That slender-looking finger actually didn't emit any fluctuations of spiritual energy. Still, the robust bare-chested man was reduced to the same state as a shell launched from a magic cannon. Crashing against the distant wall, he let out a dazzling brilliance all around his body. After being pressed up against the wall, his body fell to the ground. The slender-looking person placed his hands behind his back, forcing too much power. This will only make you lack in flexibility, and if you keep this up, you'll never reach the defying state. This voice sounded gentle. If some familiar person were to hear it, there would only be 2 possible results. Either would he or she kowtow on the ground, or be astonished without limits. The man slowly rose from the ground, but didn't stand up. He remained kneeling and lowered his head with respect. "Father, your injuries are already pretty much healed, so why are you still not leaving this place? What about your all-out struggle for the matter of this marriage?" The slender-looking man slowly raised his head, letting his long hair scatter, and revealed his ultimately handsome face. That was Feng Xiu, the demon god Emperor Feng Xiu. And the one kneeling down in front of the wall, with traces of blood running from the corners of his mouth, was actually Arbao, the devil dragon prince, who ended up seriously wounded from his fierce battle against Long Haochen in the illusory paradise. Bowing his head, Arbao replied enthusiastically, "I don't have the face to take Yu Yi as my wife." The demon god Emperor Feng Xiu gave the indifferent answer, "So you're unable to endure after such a small setback?" Arbao lifted his head, looking at his father, "But that's not simply a setback. This time, some successors of demon gods died in the illusory paradise, and we finally failed at our main objective. Although esteemed father has absolute authority, this time we caused too big a crisis. Even Huang Shao was extorted of 10 dragon crystals. The blame is all on me. I knew how great of a pressure esteemed father had to confront to protect me. I am the sinner of our clan. I failed to live up to your expectations," and the demon god emperor waved his hand, cutting in, Okay, no need to say all this. As one at the top, you cannot bother so much with the benefits and demerits behind every single little thing. Thinking too much will only increase your worries. Why don't you try to use a different reasoning? Like humans would say, no need to get entangled with past matters. This time, your loss was no injustice, and it was mainly a matter of luck. In the whole course of events, you didn't make any mistake. If I were in your stead, I wouldn't have done any better. You were just unfortunate to encounter God's chosen one, a being that didn't appear for the past 10,000 years, and confronted him right at the instant of his awakening. Even if he were to try hundreds and thousands of times, he wouldn't be able to reproduce that blow. Esteemed father, I am unresigned. I am not ready to accept my defeat against a weak human. What's with the nonsense of a God's chosen one? Arbao's 2 eyes were blood red. In front of others, he would always appear calm, but only when confronting the demon god emperor, he would expose his true self. Shut up. Feng Xiu's voice once again became strict. Even as the successor of the demon god emperor, Arbao felt the anger of his father, and couldn't help but immediately bow to him. He didn't dare utter any more words. The demon god emperor coldly continued, "If you keep this attitude, you will only lose when facing him the next time, and even more miserably. I cannot possibly come to save you in time every time. Do you know that this time, when I tore the space to get you back, those annoying demon god slayers took advantage of that to kill 3 of our clansmen? They were warning me. They are real idiots, and there are other existences like the demon god slayers. Humans are becoming harder and harder to handle. As my successor, if you cannot admit the strength of humans, you are not qualified to succeed to the title of emperor. I know that you are not convinced because you believe that this human is a lot weaker than you. However, did you calm down to analyze the true reasons of your loss? Except for the fact that this person is a God's chosen one, which permitted him to use such a powerful blow at death's door, is there no other reason?" Arbao raised his head, looking at his father, because they got the support of the illusory paradise, and his attribute was compatible with the illusory paradise. And afterwards, he joined hands with the spokesperson of that goddess of nature to fight against us. The demon god emperor asked in a calm voice, "Then why is it that he managed to accomplish that?" Arbao was startled, and couldn't come up with an answer. The demon god emperor continued with a heavy voice, "It is because of intelligence. We demons often become conceited because of our superior strength, and this is the reason why you were defeated. It's also good that you want to postpone the marriage. You know what you should be doing now, right?" "Yes." "What?" The Saint Knight head Han Qian looked unable to take it anymore, his face filled with shock. In front of him stood a tall knight, who was respectfully bowing down before him. Han Qian's composure became obviously somewhat cracked. "These foolish kids, what are they doing? And originally, I thought they were mature, training steadily for such a long time. Whatever they do, they are becoming overnight celebrities. When did they leave?" The tall knight replied, "About half an hour ago." Han Qian instructed, "Go and bring them back to me, tell them that it is my order." The tall knight had an embarrassed expression. "Sir Saint Knight head, this is no good. It's going against the rules. Demon hunt squads are supposed to be independent, and even the Alliance cannot dispatch them as they please. And everything they did was according to the rules." Han Qian shouted in fury, "What bullshit! If something happens to these little guys, the whole Alliance will be in a total crisis." "Yes." The tall knight didn't dare violate the order of Han Qian for a second time, and turned back to the outside. Right when he arrived at the exit, Han Qian suddenly stopped him, "Come back. Startled, the knight stopped his steps and returned back to Han Qian. Han Qian advanced towards him from behind his desk, pacing back and forth in his broad office, his brows gathered together. After making that round trip for more than a dozen turns, his eyebrows finally smoothed. Letting out a sigh, he talked to himself, this boy and that girl are already 16. Since they could stay in seclusion for so long, they should have advanced quite a lot. Little birds cannot forever stay under the protection of their parents, or they won't become true supreme powerhouses. Let's just let them tamper themselves. Long Haochen, you have to come back alive to me no matter what, little brat. Indeed, right before, this knight standing in front of him brought astonishing news. The members of the secluded 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad had suddenly shown themselves at the Demon Hunt Squad's mission tower, accepting 16 slaughter missions at once before immediately setting off, and leaving Holy City to go straight to the demon territory. Those were 16 slaughter missions, and all of them needed one to reach the commander grade to take them on. The simplest one required to kill a demon powerhouse of the 7th step, and seize the crystal. And among the missions they took, 3 were directed against powerhouses of the 8th step, and the toughest one demanded to kill the last ranked of the 72 demon gods, the devil snake Andromalius. Despite being the 72nd ranked, that was still a demon god. A powerhouse at the peak of the 8th step, and furthermore, in the range of his demon god pillar, his strength would match several powerhouses of the 8th step. The mission to kill Andromalius was the hardest among all those at the commander grade. This mission was also directed to the king and emperor grade demon hunt squads, and in fact, Andromalius wouldn't stay alone in one place and let himself be killed. As a demon god, he was also in control of a large army of demons. For Long Haochen's group to actually dare accept such a mission was simply courting death. In fact, at the peak of the 8th step, one spiritual energy would get close to 100,000 units. Because the Demon Hunt Squad's mission tower was in Holy City, a long journey was necessary for them to return from their missions. Thus, the rules of the Demon Hunt Squads permitted them to accept several missions at once. But it was the first time a situation like this occurred, where one squad accepted 16 missions at once. In fact, all missions had an allotted time, and if they couldn't be cleared before the time limit, a penalty in the form of contribution points would be administered. Of course, when taking more missions at once, the allotted time would extend to some extent. Long Haochen's group was given a total of 2 years to complete all those missions, but given their current strength, would they really be able to defeat the 72nd demon god? Even with all the confidence Han Qian had in Long Haochen, he still believed this to be no more than nonsense. However, since these little guys already left, could they really be chased back? This would be no more than a strike against them. Thinking of Long Haochen's report of the truth behind what really happened in the illusory paradise, Han Qian gradually started to relax from his anxious state. That's right, Han Qian already knew about the true fortune Long Haochen's team had gained in the illusory paradise, though he didn't know how Long Haochen brought everyone in. All Long Haochen had said was that it was a secret that couldn't be leaked. With everyone possessing a spiritual stove, they should have no problem defending themselves. And furthermore, Long Haochen was young, but not reckless. It should be okay to just let them temper themselves. And furthermore, that person will make certain to protect them. Right. I should make haste to report this to him. Reaching this point of thinking, Han Qian temporarily suppressed the anxiety in him, and had that tall knight withdraw first, before hastily leaving his office. Right at that time, those youngsters who gave the Saint Knight head such worries were seated cozily in a carriage, looking at the scenery on both sides, enjoying a rare time of relaxation. Carriages were a special privilege for demon hunt squads. In the past, Long Haochen's group had shared one, but that was only once, during the compulsory mission. Over the past year, battles occurred frequently. Every human fort would be subjected one after another to the powerful demon attacks. The most desperate one was of course the southern mountain pass city, which the demons had almost destroyed. If not for the prompt arrival of the reinforcements, the aftermath would have been too horrible to contemplate. The southeastern fort, belonging to the warrior temple, was on the contrary the most peaceful one. Perhaps, it was because the Nerix province met with great reassignations, but although the demons frequently launched some harassing attacks, they never launched a large-scale battle since then. Under these circumstances, the Starseeker city known as the garden behind the southeastern fort appeared tranquil. Business was boosted effectively, and the ordinary people lived in peace and worked happily. Actually, human ambition would generally be far from that of the demons. As long they had a peaceful and steady life, they would be very easily satisfied. Long Houchen's group of 7 didn't alarm the office hall and the military from the Starseeker city. They quietly headed to a medium-sized hotel and arranged for the 2 carriage drivers to return to Holy City after 2 days of rest. After all, they wouldn't be able to return for the duration of these missions. How could they be asked to wait here? Permitting everyone to return to their rooms to get some rest, Long Houchen took Kia's hand and led her out of the hotel. To avoid attracting everyone's attention, the 2 of them were clad in sheltering veils. After all, astonishingly good looks would often attract people's attention. Strolling on the main street of the Starseeker city, Long Houchen pulled Kia's hand, gently chuckling. I'm suddenly recalling the time when we just met each other in Holy City. Actually, the tournament we should have given the top priority only served as a prop for our encounters, and instead of those matches, what I waited the most was the time I could accompany you back home every day. Kia laughed back. How is it that I can only remember your foolish sides of that time? Unconcerned, Long Houchen remarked with a smile, who wanted me to be your idiot? As long as you like it, I'll be as idiotic as you want. Kia's look immediately became softer, drawing closer to Long Houchen. The 2 of them were surrounded by a very warm atmosphere, while slowly advancing. On their stroll, the 2 of them seemed extremely comfortable and at ease, advancing in a straight line until reaching a building. On this 2-floored building was written in large letters, Yuyi Caravan. Entering the demon territory implied that one had to take great risks, as the scouting on the frontier of the demon territory would be very tight. However, it wouldn't be the same if they sneaked inside with the Yuyi Caravan. The demon race and the Temple Alliance were the same in one aspect, which was their tight surveillance on the outside and their lax inspections on the inside. As long as they went in and disguised themselves as demons from the Moon Demon clan, carrying out their missions wouldn't be so challenging. And furthermore, if they could get Yuyi's cooperation, their missions would naturally be a lot more convenient. Approximately 5 months ago, Long Houchen and Kia secretly went once to Starseeker City, meeting Yuyi in secret at this place. This was to relieve her from the restriction and to schedule the operations of this time. When walking into the Yuyi Chamber of Commerce, there were immediately some workers coming up to inquire about the reason for their presence. Long Houchen handed them a baby-hand-sized emblem, demanding them to look for the person in charge, and waited with Kia in the hall of the Yuyi Caravan. The caravan was bustling, with people going in and out constantly. This place was only the facade of the Yuyi merchant group, and the goods were not gathered here. But even so, it was very active. Long Houchen was even more confident in Yuyi than in the past, the main reason being naturally her performance in the illusory paradise. Her cooperation at that time was of great use, and permitted Long Houchen to see her utility for the team in a new light. While Long Houchen reflected about the 16 missions of this time, some clumsy steps suddenly sounded from the outside, and then, a group of soldiers entered. The soldiers of this group were clad in leather, and led by a low-grade officer in chainmail. Seeing them hold their heads high, it could be seen that they didn't come for pleasantries. Where's your boss? Call him out. The officer leading them drew a knife carried at his waist, while shouting this. The 10 soldiers he brought swiftly lined up in a row, the spears in their hands pointing at the inside of the caravan building, blocking its entrance. Seeing these soldiers, some workers came to welcome them immediately. Mr. Soldier, may I know what you came for? The worker asked with special servitude. That officer snorted coldly. Your Yuyi caravan is suspected of entangling with the demons. This official came to arrest your boss and inquire about these circumstances. The worker was startled about that. It was the first time something like this was happening. Mr. Soldier, we are freelance merchants, protected by the Alliance. Bang, with a slap, the officer replied to that. What nonsensical freelance merchants. I'll tell you that this group just went on a patrol, directed at this street. Reportedly, your Yuyi merchant group was the richest on this street. Why is it like this? Is that not simply due to collaboration with the demons? Hearing his words, Long Houchen pulled Kia to the side, believing that the Yuyi merchant group was going to handle the matter. As an employee of the Temple Alliance, he couldn't control other people's business. As long as this wouldn't influence the fact that the Yuyi merchant group would lead them into the demon territory, it didn't concern him. However, from the start, this affair clearly sounded quite nasty. What about the Yuyi merchant group being the richest? Even Long Houchen, who didn't understand too much about these matters, could roughly guess that these soldiers were up to no good. This time, a manager from the Yuyi merchant group hastily came from the rear. Seeing the soldiers that came this time, he also appeared startled, and gave a message to the worker, pointing at Long Houchen's little group, and whispered some words in his ears. Making his salutations to Long Houchen beforehand, the manager welcomed him before turning towards that officer, telling him with a smile, "Mr. Officer, I am the manager from the Yui Merchant Group. I want to know what you are up to, blocking the entrance to our caravan. We are legal merchants protected by the Alliance." Until now, Long Houchen's furious face didn't ease up in the slightest, tightly clenching his fists. If these soldiers had resisted just before, perhaps he would have really raised his hand against them. Ever since Long Houchen became a knight, all the enemies he faced had been demons. All the humans he interacted with were heroic people, galloping onto the battlefield and advancing against the enemy troops. Why did he do that? It was to let the humans live in peace and work happily. But while officers and soldiers were risking their life on the battlefield against demons, this kind of shameless acts would happen in the rear. Good and honest to the core, seeing such ruthless unfairness, how could Long Houchen not get furious? He was really controlling himself not to kill that officer directly. Otherwise, if he did raise his hand against him, he would be bound to take the life of this officer. Seeing their terrified sight, before thinking about the lost lives of all the soldiers of the Alliance who died on the battlefield bathed in hot blood, Long Houchen felt his heart aching, wanting most of all to kill these worms. Demon Hunt Squad's obligations were not only directed against demons, but they also had some duties in the Temple Alliance. Demon Hunt Squads of any grade had a certain authority over people of any standing in the Alliance. The higher the grade of the Demon Hunt Squad, the greater would be their power of command. To give a simple example, if a titled grade Demon Hunt Squad called the head of the Alliance into question, procedures of investigation for misconduct would immediately get started from the Alliance, with an unequaled degree of emergency. Given their innumerable military services, they perhaps didn't have the power of commanding the army, but in terms of authority, they had the greatest power of the Alliance. As the leader of a commander-grade Demon Hunt Squad, Long Houchen had the authority to ask for the presence of the head officer, or the military head of Starseeker City. He even had the right to directly call these two top powers of the city into question, and in case fault was found, they would very likely lose all prospects of a prosperous future after a thorough investigation. That manager from the Yui Merchant Group stood calmly in the same place while Long Houchen was handling the matter. When Long Houchen's shout came, he was terrified to the core. That murderous intent wasn't something anyone could project, but only one who really went on the battlefield and killed countless enemy powerhouses could possibly gain such a sharp presence. It is no wonder that President gave the instruction to help them in any situation. They are really not ordinary people. Long Houchen turned to look at this manager. "Hello, my name is Long Houchen. Do situations like the one right before happen often here?" This manager from the Yui Chamber of Commerce shook his head and replied, "Generally, it happens very rarely. This officer should have reached this rank pretty recently, but his actions don't mean anything for the military." Hearing his reply, Long Houchen's expression relaxed slightly. "Then, why didn't you call his actions just before into question?" The manager gave a calm smile. "Mr. Long, please know that we are merchants and cannot battle with officials. Demon Hunt Squads were a separate group with authority over all officials. And furthermore, these were existences tempered by facing perils on the battlefield against demons. In the past, there had been a statistic portraying that every member of a commander-grade Demon Hunt Squad would have at least killed thousands of demons on the battlefield. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that every demon hunter was a hero of humanity. Thus, even officials of such high standing didn't dare be careless in the slightest when dealing with them. This was also the reason why the two of them arrived together. "Where is that person?" the military head asked with an enraged look after shouting at the officer. That officer didn't dare utter a word by now, and simply raised his hand, pointing in the direction of Long Houchen. The consul and the military head looked at Long Houchen and appeared startled. It wasn't as if they didn't see Long Houchen and Kia, only that Long Houchen was indeed too young. How could he look the slightest bit like a demon hunter from a commander-grade Demon Hunt Squad? To say nothing about the fact that he would be their captain. Seeing these two, Long Houchen's expression once again became serious. Although he looked quite young, he had experienced life or death situations many times. As the captain of a Demon Hunt Squad, commanding it with experience, he saw many things, and even the demon god emperor wouldn't scare him. And much less those two before his eyes. "I am the one who called the two of you. I still didn't consult you." Long Houchen also knew that his appearance wasn't very convincing, and didn't want to waste too much time here. Saying that, he moved his right hand in the direction of that military head, who saw with shock that Long Houchen's right hand suddenly turned transparent, a clear sign of brilliant body, used by temple knights at the 7th step. At the 7th step. That person is at the 7th step. Isn't he too young? That's not right, he's surely in disguise or using some extraordinary pill. The military head and the consul exchanged glances, before stepping forward in a rush. The consul, clad in his gown, declared, "Hello, respected demon hunter. I am the consul of Starseeker City, Shui Mu, and this person is the military head of the city, Han Qianyu." Long Houchen nodded, "Hello, you two. The two of you should know about what happened right before. I hope you two will appropriately handle the situation here. I don't want to see any situation like this appear here ever again, or else I will be sure to file a complaint to the Alliance, asking to remove you from your positions." Without the slightest formality, Long Houchen directly expressed his thoughts. Captain of the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad, Long Houchen. Before saying this, he paid attention to release a golden barrier of light, covering himself and the two officials of Starseeker City, isolating all sound. Regarding Long Houchen's status, Shui Mu and Han Qianyu didn't have the slightest doubt. His light attribute and brilliant body of the 7th step said a lot. This was plenty as a proof, thus this couldn't possibly be a fake. "Hello, Captain Long. These scoundrels truly ruined the face of the people from Starseeker City today. After heading back, I will naturally handle the matter appropriately. Since your distinguished self is a Demon Hunt Squad captain, your own missions are all you need to worry about. My commanding of Starseeker City doesn't need to be criticized to such lengths. The high standings of my humble self in Starseeker City isn't anything you can relieve with a mere report." Han Qianyu's words clearly carried some anger, and Shui Mu was the one pulling his sleeve, without stopping his speech. Long Houchen was originally keeping his anger suppressed, but hearing that, his complexion turned quite unsightly, and he gave the cold reply, "It seems that those subordinates are merely imitating their superiors' vices. Demon Hunt Squads possess authority, and you surely know about that, sir. Since your distinguished self doesn't seem to consider the fault in your subordinates' behavior, this matter will be reported to the higher-ups. Kia, we are leaving." Saying that, Long Houchen pulled Kia's hand, leading her to the exit, disregarding these two top higher-ups from Starseeker City. What rubbish. Looking at the leaving figures of Long Houchen and Kia, Han Qianyu couldn't help but curse in rage. On the side, Shui Mu gave a bitter smile. "Old Han, why bother that much? Demon hunters are nowhere so easy to handle. And you know, this time it was your subordinate that was in the wrong. You didn't need to say that just now, and the matter would have passed." Han Qianyu laughed grimly. "What is he going to do to me? Didn't the soldier only take some money from this Chamber of Commerce? This trash, even the money in their hands is not in its fitting place. Let's just go back and let them do whatever they want. Demon Hunt Squads are merely supervisors and no more, and they are only at the commander grade. They would need to be at least at the king grade to be on equal footing with us. Just what are they? They think they are outstanding just after killing some demons." Given how sensitive Long Houchen's hearing was, and the deliberate loud voice Han Qianyu used while arguing with Shui Mu, every single of his words was heard by Long Houchen. This was not simply a provocation anymore, and the depiction of subordinates imitating their superiors' vices clearly infuriated Long Houchen even further. What Shui Mu thought to himself was, "Aren't you just giving the other party a hold on yourself?" However, he also knew Han Qianyu had some basis for what he said. Who let him be the son of the auxiliary head of the warrior temple? Otherwise, his position as the military head of Starseeker City wouldn't be stable like that. Originally, Long Houchen felt regretful about his exaggerated blaming of the other party. Although Han Qianyu's previous words weren't pleasant, it was a fact that he didn't have the authority to meddle in the military affairs of the city. This matter would be reported up, but his complaint wouldn't cause much interference. However, Han Qianyu's arrogance completely infuriated Long Houchen, to say nothing of the fact that he supported these soldiers in accepting bribes. Sensing the change in Long Houchen's mood, Kia emitted a cold intent. "Should I go?" Long Houchen shook his head and replied, "You cannot act against them. They are administrators of the Alliance, so if you act, you will be the one in the wrong. We have to follow through official channels. Let's go back for now. I have a way to handle this matter. This person is truly obstinate and self-opinionated to the core, and isn't fit as the military head of this city." Finished speaking, he pulled Kia back to the hotel. On the morning of the second day, Long Haochen went on a walk with Sima Xian to tell the people from the Yui Chamber of Commerce that they would be passing by the southeastern fort. Then, the group of 7 took the initiative to leave Starseeker City, directly heading for the southeastern fort. Long Haochen didn't tell his comrades about everything that happened the day before, determined to handle this matter on his own. When reaching the southeastern fort, and arriving at the hotel arranged for them by the Yui Chamber of Commerce, Long Haochen left by himself. Kia originally wanted to come along, but was stopped by Long Haochen. With simple inquiries, Long Haochen looked for his destination, the headquarters of the Warrior Temple. Please forward the message that the captain of the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad, Long Haochen, seeks for an interview with the head of the Warrior Temple. Long Haochen told the guard on duty at the Warrior Temple, while showing his own Demon Hunt Squad's tile. To be capable of becoming a guard of the Warrior Temple, he naturally was prudent and hastened to give Long Haochen a warrior salute, before taking his tile and making a report. Seeing that at this age, Long Haochen was the captain of a Demon Hunt Squad that managed to rise to the commander grade, it was clear that their Demon Hunt Squad would very possibly reach the king, or even the emperor grade in the future. This kind of commander grade Demon Hunt Squad was treated quite differently. This middle-aged man was clad in red, extremely tall and bulky. His build actually made Sima Xian pale in comparison. Looking at Long Haochen, he was also startled. Whoa, really young. So you're the captain of the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad, Long Haochen. Long Haochen nodded. Hello, yes I am. The middle-aged man laughed out loud. Captain Long is really young. I am the auxiliary head of the warrior temple named Shuzhongliang. Welcome, Captain Long. Saying this, he made a gesture in the direction of Long Haochen. With a nod, Long Haochen followed this auxiliary head inside the warrior temple. The warrior temple looked less elegant compared to the priest temple, and more simple and awe-inspiring. After the entrance was an immense hall. The roof, reaching a height of 30 meters, gave a very wide feeling. And right in front of the door, in the middle position of the hall of the warrior temple, stood a sculpture. Seeing it, Long Haochen couldn't help but stop his advance, giving a respectful look to this sculpture before performing a knight salute. His right fist placed against the chest of his glorious holy armor made a metallic colliding sound. Shuzhongliang couldn't help but stop his steps, seeing Long Haochen in a new light, with an increasingly good opinion. To the warrior temple, this sculpture was a sign of supreme glory. Since this person was clad in knight armor, he was clearly a knight. But by giving such respectful salutations to this sculpture in his first moments here, how would he not have gained the favorable opinion of this auxiliary head of the warrior temple? And furthermore, Shuzhongliang appeared straightforward, but was actually pretty meticulous, and had a good eyesight to judge people. He was entirely certain that the respect Long Haochen paid to this sculpture came from the depths of his heart. It was a matter of course that Long Haochen was sincere. Beside this sculpture stood a horizontal inscribed board. On it the words, "A sword of 1,000 years." That's right, this was the sculpture of the holy sword wielder Yi Wushang. It could be said that over the past several decades, the greatest genius that had ever appeared in the 6 great temples was Yi Wushang. He even sparked the hope that the warrior temple could gain the leading position among the 6 great temples, and that they would all get gathered under his command. Unfortunately, this holy sword wielder died too early. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.